for you. Julia's right. It's a puzzle. When there's circumstantial evidence, you have to put all of the pieces of the puzzle together for the state to try to prove that there's no doubt at all whatsoever, beyond a reasonable doubt, this is the right defendant. What is your opinion so far? Because the defense hasn't been asking a lot of questions. What are your thoughts?
Well, right now, it's building blocks exactly like Julia just said. In my opinion, right now, there's just not enough evidence. I mean, certainly there's suspicion, there's a little bit of a hunch that something is untoward, but all they've really established so far is that they have a victim of a crime, right? And that is an element of any homicide or murder. So far, there's just not enough evidence. And as for the biological evidence, there is nothing to tie him yet to the crime scene that's been presented to my knowledge.
And Philip, what about the fact we have yet to hear anything about the gun, the weapon? We know that she was shot in the back of the head. Is the absence of the weapon that was used necessarily reasonable doubt or not? And we have a lot of circumstantial cases all over the nation. So do you think that that's going to be a major point for the defense in this case?
Well, the instrumentality of the lady's death was by firearm. If they cannot identify the firearm, perhaps at least try to locate casings and obviously the bullet that penetrated the lady's body and see if they can somehow trace it to the defendant having purchased similar ammo or a weapon of that type. Typically, when they recover casings at the scene or the bullet, they can get tool markings from the actual casing or the bullet to see if it matches the firearm. But without all that scientific ballistics, it's going to be very, very hard to prove that Mr. Addy was the trigger man.
So I want to pivot a little bit on something you just said, Philip, and that is proving he was the trigger man. The other thing in this case that I note is, listen, the next day when the police interviewed him, came to his home, he admitted the affair. He gave them his cell phone. He said, yes, you can search my car. Does that, in your experience, when you have clients who are defendants in criminal cases, do they tend to be that cooperative with law enforcement?
Very frequently they are. And, most criminals are not sophisticated. And they think that by cooperating that the police will eliminate them as a suspect, or if they do have enough evidence, maybe they'll try to get them leniency. On the other hand, it could just be that the man is innocent, right? I mean, he's cooperating because he has nothing to hide. He let them go into the garage, apparently. They looked at the car. I'm sure they took photos. They scraped the tires, the wheels. They did everything that they needed to do. Now, obviously, they're going to do whatever they can to try to create some motive for the offense. And surely, you have a man essentially committing bigamy. He's married. He's planning on getting married to a woman before he's divorced. So, yeah, it does look suspicious, and they certainly have established a motive. But motive is not an element of murder.
And I think that's a really important piece to remember. Motive is not an element of murder. The jury's going to decide this case. Philip, stay with me. We're going to squeeze in a short break. Court should be resuming in just a few moments. We will take you back into the courtroom for more live coverage of Missouri versus James Addy.